Hello and welcome. I'm Saeed from StoryPlanet.net. Dive right into the essence of the most captivating books without reading them cover to cover. Whether you're on the go, at the gym, or just relaxing at home, we offer you a unique and enriching listening experience. Today, we are exploring the book, From Yakking Black Lives Matter to Black Liberation, a creation by Keeanga-Yamahtta Taylor. The book, From Yakking Black Lives Matter to Black Liberation, 2016, provides insight into the current fight for black liberation in the United States. Uncover why racism persists in America and the vital role of groups like Black Lives Matter in driving change. With the battle ongoing, learn how you can contribute to the solution. Before we delve into these revelations, it's interesting to note that Keeanga-Yamahtta Taylor, an assistant professor at Princeton University in the African American Studies Department, contributes articles on black politics, social movements, and racial inequality to publications like Culture and Society, New Politics, The Guardian, and International Socialist Review. With 7 key ideas to unveil, brace yourself for a deep dive into this captivating book on StoryPlanet.net. To start, join and support the Black Liberation Movement. In his essay, A Testament of Hope, Martin Luther King Jr. emphasized the need for more political involvement to achieve black liberation. Despite progress since the civil rights movement, racial inequality persists in American society. The text explores the origins of black poverty and slavery, police violence, the prevalence of everyday racism, and the emergence of a new black liberation movement. The summarizer reveals how the idea of a colorblind society masks racial discrimination, Obama's perpetuation of cultural myths affecting black communities, and the impact of the 1865 Black Codes on the criminalization of black individuals. Key idea number 1. Issues in black communities are sometimes wrongly seen as cultural problems instead of being recognized as systemic issues. Slavery abolished during Civil War. President Johnson's Civil Rights Act of 1964 aimed at equality, outlawing race-based discrimination. Ongoing issues in African American communities, problems attributed to cultural weaknesses by some, deflecting from systemic causes of poverty and inequality rooted in history. Historical economic dependence on slavery. Nixon and Reagan era cuts to welfare programs further impact black communities. Racism persists post-civil rights movement, fueling new black liberation movement. Key idea number 2. Politicians promote a colorblind society to advance a harmful agenda. The text discusses how the notion of America being a colorblind society has been used to conceal racism and perpetuate discrimination against black communities. It highlights how the Nixon administration's economic policies, which blamed poverty and crime on individual choices rather than systemic racism, led to increased policing and mass incarceration. Overall, the text addresses the harmful consequences of denying racism and the need for addressing institutional inequalities. Key idea number 3. Advancements of black politicians have not led to substantial change. The text discusses the death of Freddie Gray, a black man, at the hands of Baltimore police in 2015, which led to protests against city leaders, including black officials. It highlights the historical presence of African Americans in political positions since the late 1960s, but emphasizes how systemic issues and budget cuts have hindered progress in addressing poverty and unemployment in black communities, leaving both black and white politicians facing criticism for failing to bring about much-needed change despite their representation. Key idea number 4. The legal and justice system has systematically criminalized African Americans. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery in the U.S. in 1865, but Southern states enforced black codes to restrict black populations. This included convict leasing, allowing businesses to lease prisoners for labor. By the 20th century, most Southern prisoners were black. Black communities faced disproportionate policing nationwide. Instances of racially motivated violence were common, with little accountability. Today, black people are still disproportionately targeted and arrested by law enforcement. Key idea number 5. Police violence and lack of leadership in the Black community have led to a new wave of activism. The text discusses how Barack Obama's presidency, though initially inspiring hope for change in the Black community, faced disillusionment due to the lack of progress in addressing systemic racial inequality and violence in the United States. The dissatisfaction was exacerbated by events like the financial crisis, the murder of Trayvon Martin, and the subsequent failure to hold the perpetrator accountable. This resulted in the emergence of movements like Black Lives Matter, which sought to mobilize against racial discrimination and police violence. Key idea number 6. Protests and activist groups increased after the shooting of Mike Brown in Ferguson. In 2014, the killing of young black man Mike Brown by white police officer Darren Wilson in Ferguson, Missouri, sparked protests and riots against police violence and injustice. The lack of indictment for Wilson led to nationwide protests and the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement. Various activist organizations, including Dream Defenders and Hands Up United, emerged, led by politically engaged young black activists, contributing to the Black liberation movement. Collaboration among these groups is encouraged to strengthen their impact. Key idea number 7. Recognizing the link between racism and capitalism is crucial, and it is essential to bring together workers from all backgrounds. The civil rights movement in the 1960s fought not only for equal rights, but against the impacts of capitalism on black communities. Capitalism relies on exploiting many for the benefit of a few, often using racism as a dividing tool. Karl Marx highlighted this link between racism and capitalism. Racist ideologies have historically been used to keep working-class whites and blacks divided, preventing unity against exploitation. After slavery, white supremacy was created to prevent black empowerment, uniting whites across social classes. To create real change, black and white working-class unity against these systems is essential. In conclusion, the book highlights the persistence of racism in the United States despite claims of being post-racial, focusing on the continued deaths of black people by the police and neglect of black communities by the political system. It discusses the emergence of a new black liberation movement that aims to unite black and white working-class individuals to bring about real change. Thank you for listening to this summary. If you enjoyed this exploration, we invite you to discover other fascinating books on storyplanet.net. Don't wait any longer. A multitude of books, stories, and knowledge await you there. See you soon on storyplanet.net.